Hi guys, this is Al Smith. Today I'm going to talk to you about overcaller competitive bidding roadmap. Okay, the first thing we have to do is make sure that we understand what the competitive sequences look like and that there are a couple of forks in the road. Okay, first of all, competitive bidding can begin after any seat opens. First seat, second seat, or third seat. Okay. In each one of these situations, if we in that particular seat bid something like one spade, we are starting a competitive convention. We can even do this after the fourth seat opens. Just because we passed the first time doesn't mean that we're going to have to pass the second time. So there are lots of different competitive bids that we can make after we pass. Just make sure you're aware of that. Now, what conventions are available to be used depends on whether one or two of the opponents have bid. If only one opponent has bid, they've opened, there's one set of conventions, okay? And we have really two variations here that use the same set of conventions. That's where the direct seat overcalls or the indirect seat overcalls. In this case, we can see the person immediately behind the person that opened overcalled. In this one, they passed and the responder passed and the person in the fourth seat overcalled. So the conventions available if only one opponent has bid is different than the set of conventions that are available if both opponents have bid. And we're going to differentiate between the two and discuss those. Okay, let's just revisit this competitive situations graphically so that you can make sure that we're all on the same page. The opponent opens. You or me, we're in the direct seat and we make a competitive bid. We're going to be called the overcaller. Okay. If our partner passes and the responder passes and we're sitting in the indirect seat and we make a competitive bid, we're going to be called the overcaller. So the overcaller in both of these situations has the same set of conventions available to use to enter into competitive auctions. All right, now, however, we have a little bit different situation if both opponents have bid. The opponent bid one club, the responder bid one heart. This is different, and the set of conventions that are now available to us in what we're going to call the two-dash overcaller is different than those used for the overcaller. And finally, we have what we call balancing overcalls. And balancing overcalls are made in a situation where you're making the decision whether to pass the handout and accept the last bid by the opponents, or whether because of the sequence you want to make a special bid. And we're going to call that the B overcaller. Okay, and we're going to discuss today the conventions that are available to us as the overcaller or the two overcaller. The balancing overcaller, we just want you to know today that those are available. Okay, now let's set the stage, okay, and talk about what conventions are available. Okay, so the opponent opens and we're in the direct seat or the indirect seat and only one opponent has bid. Okay, the first and most important convention is called the overcall. It's the simplest, it's the most frequently used, and allows you to enter the auction to tell your partner that you have something. All right, now, the second is the takeout double. It allows you to, in essence, ask your partner to bid. Now, when we look at these, the sequence of the conventions as they're presented in this particular chart is the sequence that I recommend that you learn the conventions and put them into use. They start with the simplest and progress to the most complex. Okay, and I'll explain at the end of this chart that many of these you won't want to start to use for maybe a year or 2 years or even 3 years, depending on the level of sophistication of your game. The goal of this particular chart is to show the roadmap of how you progress from the what I call the most elementary level of the game to the most complex level of the game. So number 1 is the overcall. Number 2 is to take out double. My goal is not to explain what these conventions are, but only to let you know that they exist. And this is the sequence, the roadmap in which you should learn them and put them to use. The third is the jump over call. It allows you to introduce and add preemptive bids, competitive bids to your menu. The fourth is the Michaels Q bid. The Michaels Q bid allows you to describe two hands that are two suited hands and particular combinations, so that you can tell your partner that, hey, I've got 5 hearts and 5 spades is one example. The next is how to compete after the opponents open 1 no trump. There's a whole raft of different conventions that have been invented over the years. The one I like best is called Bloomin'. Fairly simple to use. You can use it over a strong and a weak no trump. And it gives you great versatility in terms of describing lots of different shapes of your hands and different levels of strength. So that's the one I like. Number 6 is unusual no trump. What this allows you to do is describe 2 suited hands that you couldn't describe with the Michaels Q bid. So you can see that as we progress along this path, the takeout double, the jump over call, these are almost all bids that allow you to describe the shape of your hand and particular shapes of your hand. And it really allows you to use these in the sequence that they occur most often. So what you want to do is learn overcalls first, take out double second, jump over calls, and so on and so on. So let's look at the 7th convention. This is a Western Q bid, and it's specifically used to investigate whether you can play in a no trump contract, specifically 3 no trump. So it's a very, very nice utility convention. Then we've got leaping Michaels. You say, well, we have Michaels and we've got leaping Michaels. What's the difference? Well, Michaels is used at a relatively low level. Leaping Michaels is used at the 4 level and allows you to interfere with the opponent's bidding and potentially binding game or slam by describing 2 suited hands that have a specific strength. The same is true of leaping unusual, okay, because it is generally used, for example, you bid, opponents bid 1 heart, you bid 4 no trump. You go, my God. Okay, what that's saying to partner is you've got 5 plus clubs, 5 plus diamonds, choose, and we think that we can get a better score by playing at the 5 level in a minor than letting the opponents play in a major or a slam. Okay, so you can see that competition really is the process of getting in your opponent's face and trying to interfere with their bidding and to find a contract where you can effectively get the better score by letting the opponents take the bid. The next is leaping planner, okay? And this is a very special situation where if the opponents hadn't opened, you would have used the Flannery convention to describe a 2-suited hand with hearts and spades. The next one is the equal level conversion takeout double, okay? And what this is just an extension of the takeout double that allows you to describe and use the takeout double in situations that you couldn't use the takeout double because of the shape of the hand. And it has particular requirements, and it actually increases the number of times that you can use the takeout double by a factor of about 2. Okay, the next is the off-shape takeout double. It's just an extension of the takeout double, equal level takeout double that allows you to describe more hands using the takeout double. It expands the capability for using it and makes it a much more powerful bid. Okay, now we've got the situation where the opponents open 4 of a suit. How do you compete? Do you just fold your tent and let them have their way? No, there's a way of using 4-level preempt takeout doubles. And it's important to understand what the constructs of that particular convention are so you can find the suit where you need to be and make the game or the slam when the opponents try to get in your face. So you can see a lot of these conventions are you trying to get in the opponent's face, you trying to react after the opponents get in your face. So that's in essence the essence of competition, trying to interfere with each other. Okay, the next is called Fishbine 2+ level penalty doubles. This is a pretty complicated little convention, and it's only for advanced players. But what this allows you to do is to double the penalties at low levels and impose penalties on the opponents when they overbid their hand because they're trying to get in your face. So it's not used by a lot of people, but it's in the roadmap, and it's a really powerful convention. Now you've got some really advanced conventions that can be used. What we have here is a convention called suction. Okay, and what this allows us to do is to compete after the opponents that are using precision open an artificial 1 club or 1 diamond. There's different bidding systems that are used within the in bridge. One's called Standard American, another one's called Precision, there's Big Club, there's Polish Club, and so forth. And there have been particular conventions designed to compete against those that are most popular outside of Standard American. That is Precision. So this allows you to compete effectively against the Precision system. The last is the use of suction after the opponent makes a strong opening bid of 2 clubs or 2 no trump. How do you effectively complete? How do you describe your hand? Suction allows you to compete effectively in these particular environments. All right, those are the conventions that you use after only one opponent is bid. There's a lot of them, right? Okay, now don't let that overpower you because most people use a basic set, and I'll describe those in another roadmap video that talks about the Standard American bidding system. And included within that is really 7.01 through 7.07. So really the most people use only these first 7 conventions. Okay, the rest of them aren't really necessary. But as you get more and more advanced, it's nice to have them available so you can use them to describe your hand and to further compete. All right, now let's look at the situation with the 2 overcaller options. This is when, after both opponents have bid. Okay, and there's really 2 different paths to be followed that you can follow here, or systems. Okay, and the first one is where the opener bids 1 suit, your partner passes, and the responder bids either a new suit or raises or bids 1 no trump. This sets up 2 different scenarios. Okay, so let's look at the first one where the overcallers have bid. The responder has bid a new suit. So we have a situation of, let's say, 1 club, pass, and a new suit. Okay, and now you are in the 4th seat, and you can now enter the competitive of auction. Let's see the conventions that are available to you. Because they bid 2 suits, a lot of the things that were available to you, the overcaller in the direct and indirect seats are no longer available. We have the overcall. Now you'll notice the numbers and the colors are the same as in the previous chart if they're the same. Okay, now we have what's available to us is the negative double. The negative double, in essence, says, hey, I've got the other 2 suits. You're telling your partner about the shape of your hand and the strength. Okay, now typically the negative double shows that you have 4 cards in each one of the suits. Now you go, okay, we still have the jump over call that's available to us. So we can get in their face and we can obstruct their bidding using a preemptive bids. The next one is called the Cappelletti Q bid. Okay, so when the negative double 7.18 is used to describe a hand with 4-4, you can now use the Cappelletti Q bids to describe a hand with either 5-4 or 4-5 in the 2 unbid suits. Okay, so you've got 4-4 and 4-5 and 5-4. What you also have available to you is the sandwich no trump, which allows you to describe a fairly weak hand that's 5-5 in the 2 unbid suits. And then we still have available to us Leaping Michaels, the unusual no trump. And you notice this is the unusual no trump. Okay, because now we can describe a hand that's 5-5 that's a little bit stronger than the sandwich no trump. Okay, and then we still have available to us the Weston Q bid. So this is the set of conventions that are available if the opponents have bid 2 suits. Now let's look at the situation where they have bid open 1 suit and the responder has raised the suit or bid 1 no trump. We still have the overcall. We still have the response or negative double. This takes on a little bit different form in that if they have bid 1 heart and 2 hearts, the double actually implies that you have both minors. So, want you to be aware of that. You still got the jump over call that's available to you, unusual no trump, and Leaping Michael. So you can see the suite or the set of conventions that are available to you are a little bit more restricted. Okay, it's important to understand which conventions are used in which scenario. All right, I hope this helps you out in terms of determining what conventions you should learn in what sequence and what conventions you should use in what situation. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again. Bye now.